Boxing Truth here, back with another video. Make sure to smash that like button, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Alright, David Benavidez continued his campaign at super middleweight with another victory under his belt, a dominant win over a David Lemieux who really has no business fighting at 168. Not the top dogs anyway. He's been doing practically nothing ever since Saunders schooled him. He's been hanging around, taking fights here and there against low-level opposition. And yet we're going to continue to call Benavidez the Mexican monster because he destroyed Golovkin leftovers. Look, Benavidez is a very good fighter. Great physical talent. But we need to see something of substance. We need a much more suitable opponent for his next fight. Benavidez does have himself to blame for twice losing his title due to his own decisions. First the yayo, testing positive for the yayo, then missing weight. So he's had discipline problems in the past that have cost him big fights because he lost the title and has had to regain it on 2 different occasions. And now it looks like he's regained it for the 3rd time, winning an interim champion against an unworthy challenger. Don't know how Lemieux was rated in the top WBC rankings, but he was. It is what it is. He was a name guy that put Benavidez in a position to take advantage, and he did. Beat up the smaller, older, less active fighter. And that was the result. The only question was, when was David Benavidez going to stop the guy, and he dispatched him within 3 rounds. So he did what he was supposed to do. But now the question is, now what? Where do we go from here? Canelo has a contract with the Zone that he has to complete. So Canelo Benavidez is not going to happen. Even though Benavidez is the interim champion, he's going to maintain that status for at least the next 9 months to a year until Canelo makes a decision on whether he returns it to light heavyweight or super middleweight. But in the meantime, Benavidez is not going to get that fight. So we need a big fight for November. And Samson Lukowitz brought up a name that I felt was interesting. And I'll be somewhat surprised if they actually do take that fight. I can already anticipate the moves the PBC are going to make within the next few months. It's going to be a lot of changes in multiple divisions. I expect Jermell Charlo, the undisputed champ at 54, to vacate his titles. I don't expect him to fight Tim Tszyu or Sebastian Fundora. Too dangerous, not high enough rewards. And I expect him to move up to middleweight to fight for his brother's soon-to-be vacant WBC title. Jermall, I expect, is going to stop Selecki in his next fight. After that, he vacates the WBC strap at 160, moves up to 168, and the most likely fight you're going to get is not going to be Benavidez Charlo. I don't expect Charlo to fight Benavidez in his first fight at 68. It's not happening. I don't expect Plant to fight Benavidez, even though there is some beef there and some history. Don't see Plant taking that chance and fighting Benavidez with no belt on the line. So this is the fight you're going to get. You're going to get Jermall Charlo versus Caleb Plant for Charlo's first entrance at 168. People will accept the fight. It's the more winnable fight between both guys if they were to go against Benavidez. And honestly, I don't know who would win that fight. Charlo has had issues with boxers before, and Plant is it'll be at his weight class, a naturally bigger guy, and it could, it's a 50-50 fight really. Maybe Charlo a slight favorite, but I don't know. But David Benavidez versus David Morrell seems like that is the only suitable option for David Benavidez going forward. I mean, we cannot have another we can't have another David Lemieux type of opponent for Benavidez. I mean, enough is enough. call out big names and you fight Golovkin leftovers. We can't do that for the next fight. We got to fight someone of substance, someone with some that brings a threat, brings somewhat of a challenge. We'll actually question whether David can actually win this fight. And this is the perfect opponent, but I'll be very shocked if this fight happens. But it's come to a point where David has to take this fight because I don't expect Charlo to fight Benavidez in his first fight at 68. I don't expect Caleb Plant to fight David Benavidez next, coming off a knockout loss. So expect Charlo Plant sometime later this year, and that leaves David Benavidez with only one option. Since he's already interim champion, and it's David Morrell. Honestly, this guy has all the tools to be a very problematic opponent. He's a tall, rangy southpaw with a great amateur background, a long reach. I think this guy is all wrong for David Benavidez. I mean, Benavidez is a great physical talent, but he can be outboxed. And this is one of the better boxers in that weight class. Underrated guy, not a big name, but he's being fast-tracked. He's only got 6 fights, and he has a regular world title under his belt, whatever you want to call that. He's a top contender for the WBA. They're both with PBC. They both need a big fight. So why not, right? But this is a high-risk, low-reward type fight, but it's the perfect fight. Both guys need each other. It won't be pay-per-view. It'll be on regular Showtime because Morrell is not the biggest name out there, but it's a significant, real fight and a very tough fight for David Benavidez. I think it's almost 50-50 with David being a slight favorite because of his more experience as a professional, but this guy is taller, longer, rangy, and a Cuban boxer, and he's a little younger than David, so I'd be surprised if Samson pulls the trigger on this fight, unless they can find someone better. Maybe a more, a better name, not as risky of a fight with the low reward. Let's look at the ratings real quick. Super middleweight. I mean, unless Andre comes into the picture, but I don't expect Andre to not reschedule that Parker fight. That's his only move, really, for a chance to become interim champion for the WBO at super middleweight. Unless he signs a deal with PBC and he gets offered a Benavidez fight, then maybe that would be the fight for David to take, but I wouldn't hold my breath on that. Yeah, you look at the 68th division, it's relatively thin. Andrade he's somewhat of a free agent, but I don't expect him to not reschedule that Parker fight unless the Parker's team move on and say the hello Andrade. Canelo is still with the zone. Jacobs is washed. Ryder is with the zone. Caleb Plant is his only option of what will be a big, a solid big name guy. But you can't expect this guy to fight David coming off a knockout loss. So I doubt it. Berlanga's with Top Rank. There's really no option here besides, I would say, the most dangerous fight out there. One of the more dangerous fights out there for David, and that's David Morrell. It's an interesting fight, though. I mean, I'm down. It's way better than what David's been fighting lately. So why not? It's a huge upgrade from, Ronald Ellis, Canelo sparring partners, and Golovkin leftovers. So David Benavidez might be forced to take this fight because you can't keep calling out big names and then fighting the guys you're fighting. So I'd be a little surprised this fight happens, but at the same time, who else is he going to fight? There's no one else out there. If Plant's not going to step up, if Jamal Charlo's not going to step up, this is the only guy that's willing to take the fight. And you know what? It's a real fight. Wouldn't count Morrell out in that one. Would be very interested to see the odds for that fight. But yeah, David Benavidez versus Dave Morrell looks like a very strong possibility for November. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.